Hey, I'm Eric the Pond Digger here. Today we're going to do a demonstration on how to install your pond skimmer. And we're going to cover the two most critical steps in detail, which is the water leveling, where to place the water level on the skimmer, and attaching the liner to the faceplate with a watertight seal. Now, we're going to cover all the fundamentals. We're going to cover some frequently made mistakes by do-it-yourselfers and professionals alike. We're even going to show you some builder tips along the way. So let's get started. Let's talk about skimmers for just a moment. There's a lot of skimmers to choose from on the marketplace. Now, these two skimmers here comprise about 95% of our installs. Now, we offer a larger skimmer as well, but on larger ponds, oftentimes we use multiple of these medium skimmers or multiple small skimmers so we can have skimming action from different spots on the pond. It makes the cleaning process much more effective. Now, today, we're going to be installing the mini skimmer. All the fundamentals, all the steps are going to be exactly the same on the medium and the large skimmer. It's just going to be more screws and more silicone. So your pond should be mostly rocked in at this point, but you don't want to rock too close to the skimmer so you have a little bit of flexibility in liner and you have some play right here. Before we get started on anything else, I want to make sure your skimmer is level from front to back and side to side. So those are pretty critical. Make sure you get that done correctly. So now that you have the skimmer level from front to back and side to side, let's talk about water level because it's a big concern for everyone. The optimal water level is approximately 3/4 inch down from the top of the steel. So if you make a mark on your skimmer at 3/4 inch, then you can use your level or a laser transit to come across and determine where your water level is going to be at in your pond. So let's talk about the importance of the water level on the skimmer faceplate. The importance is because if you have the water level set too low on this faceplate, then this weir door will sit really low. If you have the water level sitting too high, then the skimmer weir flap won't work as effectively. Now, a lot of people misunderstand the effectiveness of this weir door. What happens is when the water level is here, when you turn the pump on, the pump actually will suck this weir door down. It'll create a certain amount of tension on the top of the water level, and 3/4 is optimal. If you have too much, then the tension won't be enough or it won't be there at all. Okay, now that we've established your water level and that your skimmer is level from front to back and side to side, now we're going to prepare this area for attaching this liner to the faceplate. When you fold this back, you should have the underlayment exposed right here as well. What you don't want to do is attach the underlayment and the liner to the faceplate. You want to fold this down. The underlayment is really porous and it'll end up creating a leak in there if you try and attach that there as well. So once you've created this fold down, you want to create a little bit of slack. You don't want to have this taut right here. Don't come in tight and pull this up. This is not going to be good because if the skimmer settles, then it'll probably pull this thing loose and you'll have a leak. Or if you have, you don't have the ability to raise this up a little bit if you decide you want to raise the water level in your pond as well. So what you do is you create a little bit of slack here. We're going to start this down here and we're going to create a fold down in front of this faceplate that allows us a little bit of freedom to let the thing settle a bit, or you can raise it if you wish. When preparing to attach the liner to the faceplate, there's a couple things I want you to consider. Right here you have a factory seam in the liner. The factory seams are usually double the thickness. So at this point, you're going to be puncturing a hole in the liner and then the silicone is going to create that watertight seal. But puncturing the hole in the liner and then putting the screw through is a little bit more difficult when you have this double seam right here. So if at all possible, avoid a seam coming through the center of this faceplate. You can push it to the right or the left and then it gives you a little bit easier process here. Another thing to consider is you want to make sure there's no wrinkles in the liner. That's why you want to have this nice and tight right here. When you go to put that weir flap on the faceplate, there's going to be no wrinkles in there because the wrinkle will be a guaranteed leak. Okay, so at this point, you should be ready to make your watertight seal. But we're going to do a dry run first. We don't want to just throw the silicone on there. We want to make a couple of starting points. So we'll put the faceplate up on here and we'll line it up with the holes that are underneath behind the liner, and then we'll puncture a hole and then put a bolt through there. Throw a screw on there, a nut to hold it in place while you work on the other side. We're just going to do the two perimeter spots on the top to get it whole thing started up. So now we have it all lined up for a dry run. Make sure we have our flap in place and all our screws are ready. Now we're going to take it apart, we'll clean it with a rag, and then we'll put the silicone on. Now remember, we're still in our dry run phase, and as you can see, I have this seam just outside the the line of our bolts where we're going to be puncturing a hole in the liner. Now when they ship this across the country, they have a little bit of talcum powder in between the liner so it doesn't melt together when it's being shipped in those hot containers. So what we want to do is we want to take the time just to knock that off, clean this a little bit, where we're going to be attaching our silicone. Now we're going to be putting our silicone right on this faceplate. This is a commonly made mistake where people don't put the silicone on the plate here, on this actual skimmer. So we have it clean, and then we'll put the silicone on there. But oftentimes I see the silicone is put on this side of the faceplate, but that's the incorrect spot. It'll always leak that way. The liner, the silicone has to be between the skimmer and the liner. So we take the time and we put the silicone right on the faceplate. So now that you have it all cleaned off, we want to run the bead of silicone right over the top of where the holes are. You really don't need that much, you just need a nice fat bead. So don't go crazy and try and lay it on too thick. Because once the liner goes on there and the screws attach this thing together, this little 1/4 inch bead turns into about 1.5 inch bead. That's really all you need. So now that your silicone is on the skimmer, remember not on the faceplate but actually on the skimmer, you've already done your dry run, so you have these 2 bolts here as your guide. Pull it up slowly and attach it in, and then throw on your washer and your nut. Now you don't want to tighten these down all the way right now, you just want to get them snug because it'll give you a little bit of play when you go to attach, when you go to put the other bolts in. Now, I usually start on all 4 corners. Now you don't want a wrinkle right here. If you have a wrinkle, you're guaranteed to get a leak. Anywhere in here, you do not want to have wrinkles. It's got to be a nice flat area. So once again, we start on all 4 corners. Now that we have the 4 corners secure, we're just going to puncture all the holes all the way around. We'll put in the nuts and bolts and we'll tighten it all up. Okay, now that we have all of our bolts in place, it's time to tighten the thing down. Now this whole process is only taking a few minutes, so don't get in a hurry at this point, break out a screw gun and try and screw everything together real fast. I've seen people over tighten things like that. Just do it the old fashioned way, it's just gonna take a few more minutes. Get your old trusty screwdriver and a wrench and tighten them down. Now that you have all the bolts tightened down, now it's time to make the cut. Isn't it great that you didn't have to cut anything before you tighten it down? So when you open this up, you'll see that we still have liner attached in here. So we'll take the time and we'll cut it out now. Okay, so we've covered the fundamentals, we've covered some commonly made mistakes. As you can see, it's not rocket science, it's easy stuff to do. Now, in closing, I'm gonna do one more cool little trick. A lot of people leave this faceplate open, they don't hide the skimmer that well. So we're gonna finish up here with some hiding techniques. We're gonna make it look real nice and you're not even gonna hardly see it.